Hey guys, Gestro Gaming here, and I got another video for you. So as you can tell by the quality of my mic here, I fixed the issues with my mic. And in light of that, I'm going to be making a all you need to know about Tactics Vanguard DPS guide. This has been something that I have been wanting to do for a while. Airveil, his great guides. I don't even know if I'm probably not going to be able to go that long. But his great guides there. On YouTube for the shadow and stuff. They're great, and they inspired me to do something like this. So I'm going to be doing a Tactics Vanguard guide. Everything you need to know about the spec. You haven't seen much from this on my YouTube channel just because I have been trying to figure out a lot of things. My computer had some guild stuff going on, and my mic too. That was kind of a big thing. I didn't really want to do this with a crappy mic. And I've had a lot of fun playing the spec. I feel like I'm pretty experienced because I used to play APP back in the days, if you probably know, if you've been with me for a while. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Comment any things below, if you have any suggestions or anything, feel free to comment. I hope people find this useful, and sorry for that little, message noise. It's the forums going off. So yeah, enjoy, and stay tuned. Alright, to start off, I'm just going to do a little introduction to Vanguard DPS. The whole point of really this class as a whole is supposed to be a melee DPS class with really good tanking abilities in 4.0, of course, and also have very versatile DPS. You have your tactic spec, which is very bursty. It was always really good in 3.0. It was nerfed in 4.0, but personally I still feel like it's very viable. And we're going to go over all this stuff. Of taxes, of course, but I'm just saying in general. Also, plasma tech is pretty good. Have you really good cleave damage. But Vanguard has just always been one of those classes, one of those specs, especially in the tactics version, where you can say, I really don't want to be a sentinel. I really don't want to be a guardian or an assassin where I have to deal with stealth. On an assassin, you have to be able to juggle your cooldowns very well because you don't really have something that can save you, like enraged defense or Culto Overload on a Vanguard or on a Guardian. So with Vanguard, it's very the class is overall very tanky, just like most melee classes, besides Sentinel, of course, because they have melee. But really, Vanguard is all about the opposite of range. If you play a bunch of range, just play a Vanguard. It's so much fun. Very bursty. It's very funny to see people go down in a couple cooldowns, which I'll teach you how to do in this guide too. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I guess I just wanted to say that tactics overall is very bursty. It's very versatile too, and you'll see that in this video. Okay, so in terms of abilities you get as a Tactics Vanguard, obviously they're going to vary per spec, but let's just focus on the Tactics spec. I'm just going to go over each of the abilities, and then I'll kind of implement their uses. So first of all, you have High Impact Bolt. Fires very powerful round at the target, dealing 4, 8, or X to X weapon damage, and it's only usable against incapacitated targets and targets suffering from periodic damage. Now, in Tactics spec, you get a buff that will change that to where you can hit High Impact Bolt on any target. So it says here, high fraction bolts. While high energy cell is active, high impact bolt may be fired at targets that are not incapacitated or suffering from periodic damage. So it cancels out that effect. In addition, high impact bolt ignores 30% of the target's armor, generating 5 cells if it has a bleeding target, which we'll get to later. And refreshes the duration of your Guts bleed effect, which we'll also get to later, if present. So that's huge because the whole High Impact Bolt is probably one of the most important abilities, because in Tactics, the goal is to get this ability, your Cell Burst off, which I'll get to. So that's very important that you be able to use that on targets without having that extra setup involved. Second is Shoulder Cannon, and Shoulder Cannon deploys a Shoulder Cannon that gradually loads 4 missiles over time. Once loaded, the Shoulder Cannon can be triggered again to fire against an enemy target within 10 meters, launching 1 missile that deals X to X kinetic damage. A missile can be launched once per 1.5 seconds. Loading and launching the solar cannon does not respect the global cooldown and can be done well controlled. Once all missiles have been loaded, depleting all missiles puts the solar cannon on cooldown for 1.5 minutes. Okay, so this is a very nice ability. You get it at level 61, I believe, in 4.0. Um, and it's very nice because it's off the global cooldown. So you can be doing your burst, which is let alone very, very bursty. But in my instance with my gear, you are dealing about 3k damage non-crit. And with all the extra burst, that's amazing because it's very good. Also, when you're stunned and you're defending, it's very nice to have because, like it says, it can be used while it's controlled. You'll be able to interrupt cap and stuff. And then also in Tactic Spectre, which is very nice, you get a buff to your ability, which is Charge Loaders. Um, it increases the damage dealt by shoulder cannon by 15%. So again, that's another great bonus. And immediately when you press it to load your missiles, instead of loading 4 missiles, it'll load 3 additional. So you really get 7, which is great. And additionally, it increases the critical hit chance of Stock Strike and Assault Plastique by 5%. Just that's kind of minuscule. So that's really great because, you know, especially if you play tank spec, the missiles go like crazy. Coming from someone who started with tactics, having 7 is just a really, really nice ability. Alright, so Gut. Gut is very important because it kind of is the baseline for your entire spec, or the rest of your burst, really. It guts the target with a knuckle blade, fire blade, dealing X to X kinetic damage and causing the target to bleed for about 5.3k internal damage over 18 seconds. So, you know, the damage from this ability, that's not what it's about. That's not really what it's coming from. The whole point of this ability is to set up everything else. So, as I said before, you know, your high fraction bolt is giving you the energy regeneration if high impact bolt hit the bleeding target. And you get the bleed from your gut. And gut, of course, is your first ability that you get in Tactic Spec. And also, there are several other bonuses here where you will get bonuses from if your target is bleeding, and everything like that. So really, and it's also kind of just like an extra ability to have. So along with your new ability that we got for 4.0, Cell Burn, which applies another dot over, it's only 3 seconds, but you're also kind of having this extra periodic damage down, which is very nice in terms of saying, you know, okay, so I have this burst, but I also kind of have this small dot, kind of helping me out. And it actually does some pretty decent damage on impact. Just saying, you know, you have when you first go in, and when we talk about the rotation, you'll see that. All right, next ability we have Stock Strike. So Stock Strike strikes the target with the butt of the rifle, dealing X to X kinetic damage. This is very nice because it will proc your high impact bolt, and there are several abilities that will proc your high impact bolt. So when we go here, we go to Tactical Accelerator. So while High Energy Cell is active, Stock Strike, Tactical Surge, Sticky Grenade, and Explosive Surge finish the cooldown on High Impact Bolt and make the next High Impact Bolt deplete no energy cells. This effect cannot occur more than once every 6 seconds. So the thing about this spec, if I haven't mentioned already, is it has some energy management problems if you don't play it correctly. And if you go crazy on burst, which I'll teach you later, there's a few instances where energy is not really a factor, and you can just go crazy and kill someone. You have to be aware of your high impact bolt, and there's really very, very small instances where you want to fire a high impact bolt off without it being triggered by one of these abilities. So it's Stock Strike, Sticky Grenade, Tactical Surge, and I believe the other one. I think that's it. Yeah. So you know you have these. Actually, I can check. I don't really want to. Yeah, that's just those 3. Okay, sorry about that. So what I was saying is that is very nice because it has a pretty short cooldown, 9 seconds. And it'll trigger your high impact bolt. And just to be something to note, you know, it has a soft internal cooldown of 6 seconds. So you just want to keep that in mind. All right, next ability is Assault Plastique. It throws a multiple plastic explosive that sticks to the target and detonates after several seconds, exploding for X to X kinetic damage. Down to weak targets, enemies enter a state of panic when the explosive attaches and are knocked down when it detonates, and that's not very useful in PvP. So this, you should be aware, does not replace Sticky Grenade. Some abilities, especially in 4.0, it tells you Tactical Surge replaces Ion Pulse, but this does not replace Sticky Grenade. And Sticky Grenade is useful still because it procs your high impact bolt, and I'll go over that ability in its own later. but this ability is very keen for your burst. So this is your first priority over Sticky Grenade, and it's very nice because it does a very, very nice amount of burst. You know, that might not seem great, but when it's crits and you have your battle focus up, it's very, very big chunk of damage. And synced up with a high impact bolt and a stock strike, it's crazy. So that's a very nice ability, and it has a really cool animation, which I'll get to later. Tactical Surge fires a concentrated surge of energy at the enemy target, dealing X to X kind of energy damage, and like I said, it replaces Ion Pulse. Very nice. It has no cooldown, so you can spam it. Although it isn't very energy efficient, it will get your proc on a high impact bolt off. So if you really, really need a proc and you know, okay, so it must have been at least 4 seconds. If I hit this and I hit it again, it's some nice damage plus you get the proc. So, you know, it's just kind of an extra thing. Alright, so I have nothing in there, then that's just my Attack Adrenal, and then I have Explosive Surge. So Explosive Surge, all Vanguards get. Some of these abilities, you know, like these two, all Vanguards get, and Stock Strategic Force. And this is just a nice AoE. This also procs your High Impact Bolt, which I can show you there. So you'll get the nice proc on your High Impact Bolt. And really, this is pretty energy inefficient, so you don't really want to be using it in your main rotation. So that's more like if you're going into a war zone, you know, you have your energy loads prepped, you have your shoulder cannons prepped, hit Explosive Surge as you're about to leap in, so the global cooldown before your storm, and it'll give you a nice proc and you can use it. Alright, Mortar Valley. So this is all Vanguards, all Troopers get this, and it launches a volley of mortar shells at the target area, dealing X to X kinetic damage and up to 8 enemies within 5 meters over the duration. Standard and weak targets are knocked down by the blast, and it depletes 30 energy cells over the duration. This ability is very nice in Tactics because you get a buff off the bat, level 12. It reduces the cooldown of Mortar Valley by 15 seconds and increases the damage it deals by 10%. In addition, Sticky Grenade deals 50% more damage and blah, 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 blah. So, it's very nice because, you know, you have, it's a small, really, range, but it's very nice to have, you know, in certain positions. You really have to be on the lookout for when you want to use it. So you don't want to be, definitely don't want to be using it in a single target. You know, it does some nice damage over the duration, but, you know, your single target burst is much more superior. I got my Warzone Adrenal. Okay, so Riot Strike is your interrupt. It's a 4-second, you know, regular interrupt, and it has a 12-second cooldown. So just like any other interrupt, you want to use this on channel abilities, healers, and it's off the global cooldown, of course. Alright, so we have I have my buffs in my battle region, and here I have Hammer Shot. So Hammer Shot is just your basic shot. It fires a series of hammering shots that deal X to X weapon damage to the target. It depletes no energy cells, you know, nothing really. So it's very nice to have, especially when you get low in energy. You don't want to, unless you really, really know what you're doing in terms of energy management, you never want to take this off of your hotbar. I have it bound to my tilted key right next to my 1, just because even as experienced I feel like I am, sometimes I mess up, and it's very nice to have that if I use my recharge cells and I use my free energy ability. That's just very nice to have. Here I have my stealth scan, just very regulatory, you know, they last for 10 seconds, cooldown 20 seconds, and it also has a 30-meter range, which is very nice, so as you're approaching an enemy emplacement in a PvP war zone or something, it's very nice to have at a 30-meter range, just kind of a stealth scan, you know, you have your stealth scan, the probes come out, last 10 seconds, that's nice. Alright, here we have our battle focus. It increases range and tech critical hit chance by 25% for 15 seconds, and this is one of your biggest offensive cooldowns at 2 minutes. So this ability is very nice because in 4.0 it increases our tech critical hit chance by 25. So when I go into detail about this ability, that'll be very keen because it increases our burst even more. And it lasts 15 seconds. It's a pretty good amount. You know, I think it used to last less. I'm not sure. I haven't played the spec in a while, but like in terms of pre 3.3, I think that was kind of a difference. But now it's very nice. You know, 25%, 15 seconds. You have a very, very large window. You can fit some nice abilities in there if you play it correct. Here we have Hold the Line, and the cooldown was increased to 45 seconds, and it grants 10 seconds of immunity from all movement impairing effects. Knockdowns and physics increases movement speed by 30%. Now, there are a few utilities in our tree that can actually buff this to make it even better, which I'll go over later. But this is a very nice ability because, especially when you're at melee range, you want to be able to have immunity to things like Guardian's Freezing Force and stuff, Chilling Scream, things like slowing effects on dots, especially Guardian, mostly like melee specs, a Lacerate on a Shadow or something. This is very nice to have. It has long cooldowns, so you want to be using it sparingly, but it's very nice to have too. Here we have Reserve Power Cell, and this basically just makes our next ability deplete no energy cells, and it lasts 15 seconds. But keep in mind you only get one charge, so it might last 15 seconds, but that doesn't mean anything in that 15-second window will deplete no energy cells. It's more like you have 15 seconds to use it. So this is very nice. I would typically use it on Mortar Volley just because that takes 30 energy cells, and it's not like it'll last 15 seconds, and then once it's done, you're still channeling. That doesn't make any sense because it only channels for a certain amount of time, so you want to use it on that because that's kind of a really big energy depletion. It really is just up to you. Sometimes you want to use it on Cell Burst because that still deals 20 energy cells, something like that. Here we have our defensive cooldowns. Reactive Shield increases the damage reduction by 20% for 15 seconds. Very nice. In Tactics Spec, you have a really, really great ability, Reflective Shield. When you take damage, the active cooldown of Reflective Shield is reduced by 3 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. In addition, when taking damage, you have a 20% chance to emit an energy readout, which absorbs a low amount of damage in the last 6 seconds. This effect cannot occur than once every 10 seconds. So that's just kind of a minor thing. But the thing is you could go in at the beginning of a fight, pop this, and as you're getting attacked, the cooldown is being lowered, so you can take a lot of damage. I mean, it doesn't do that much, but it does a really nice, chunk. And this compared with your hold the line, you're pretty much unstoppable on your taunts and stuff. Alright, so here we have Adrenaline Rush, and activating this ability makes you fired up for 60 seconds, which triggers an Adrenaline Rush when your health reduces 40% or less. If your health is already 40% or less, Adrenaline Rush triggers immediately. Once triggered, Adrenaline Rush goes on cooldown for 3 minutes, and rapidly heals you for 40% of your max health for 8 seconds, but will not exceed 40% of your max health. So this is really your, big save. So if you're getting focused, just pop this. Or not, I shouldn't really say that, but it's very useful when you're, they're, low. And this says 1 second, but it's really supposed to say, right, it says 3 minutes. So this is nice because you can pop it if you know you're going to go and you know you're going to take a lot of damage. You're pretty sure you're going to drop it below 40% health. And what it'll do is once it drops, it'll be like, oh, okay, so I'm going to heal you. And it heals for about 500 health with my current gear, which I'll get to. I have a lot of gear explanations. So, it's nice because it's kind of it's very like a tanky ability, which is really nice to have in a melee DPS spec. It's just kind of like an extra thing. And yeah, and it was buffed. It used to be 30%, but now it's 40%. Alright, so next I just want to focus your eye down here. You always want to be in high energy cell when you're in tactics. First of all, because you get all your procs from it, and it's also just kind of a damage dealt increased by 3%, and then I have the other two down here. Alright, so moving on to this hotbar, we have Neural Jolt, which is our single target taunt. And I find a lot of people, I really hate when people, especially in PvP, just kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth. Classes that have taunts have 0 protection on the board. You help. First of all, you get a medal. You can get a bunch of medals from taunting, and second of all, you're helping your healers. You're helping your tanks. It's not like in PvE where you take aggro because it's an actual person, but you reduce the damage 30%. It's pretty good. And couple that with your reactive shield, it's 55%. It's very, very, very nice. So I really encourage you to use your taunts. Use them whenever, because as a DPS you don't really need to be using them with a certain ability like a tank. But it's really nice to have. Sonic Round. Okay, so let me just check something here. I don't know if. Okay, so I do have it. So there's a utility which buffs this, and for PvP, which I'll get to later. But this is your AoE taunt. Again, players in that area reduce 30%. Very nice. Kind of the same deal as the first one. Please use them. They're great, especially in PvP. Don't use them in PvE without your tank's consent, but use them in PvP. And then here you have your harpoon. And firing a harpoon that pulls a target to your location and generates a high amount of threat cannot be used while on targets in cover. Okay, so this is great because this is like the pure tank ability, but as a DPS, it's amazing because you can pull people to you and just blow them up. It's great. You know, you don't want to be using this ability when someone's immune, obviously. You don't want to be using it when someone has the hold the line or their hydraulic overrides on, just because it won't do anything. But it's very, very nice, and it has a 10 to 30 meter range. You can pull people at 30 meter. If you're like chasing someone, you're not quite caught up to you, just pull them and blow them up. It's great. Here I have my Warzone Adrenal, my Warzone Medpack. I Pulse Cannon. So, sprays waves of ionizing energy at targets in 10 meter cone, dealing X elemental damage up to 8 targets, depleting 28 energy cells over the duration. Now, this one, I keep it on my hotbar because just because of the great AoE damage it gets, you know, it's some pretty nice damage. It's not like recommended in the burst. You know, some more experienced players might not agree that I keep it on here. Like out of the 5 games I play, I might use it once in one game out of the 5 games. You know what I mean? So just kind of nice to have, but I keep it on there. Okay, so we have Sticky Grenade, which I talked about earlier. Throws a sticky grenade that will detonate after several seconds, and stand weak enemies after state of panic. While the grenade is active, similar to Assault Plastique, and it deals X to X kinetic damage to 8 enemies when it detonates. Standard weak targets are knocked back from the blast. Just kind of an extra thing, you know, when your explosive Plastique is on cooldown for some reason and your rotation isn't lined up correctly, just throw this out. You know, it does some, you know, energy depletion, but it's worth it. It does some nice damage. Doesn't do as much damage as your hopeless Plastique, but it's nice to have. Alright, here we got our stun, cryo grenade, hurls a cryo grenade that fleezes the target, dealing X to X energy damage and stunning them for 1 second. Damage is irrelevant, just a nice 4-second stun, you know. Here we have Neural Surge, which deals very, very small amount of internal damage up to 8 enemies within 8 meters, and then stuns them all for 2.5 seconds. Very nice for if your healer is about to die and they're all focused on you, you can run in, stun them. This is in PvP. And then that heal gets some time to catch up. That's that's a good 1.5 global cooldowns. Nice to have. Especially also in PvE, if you have taunts on you, if you're an off tank or just a DPS with a taunt, you can have this ability. Get them all together, stun them, mortar volley, great. Especially also in PvP too. Some people do the mortar volley and they'll stay in the mortar volley. It's very nice. Alright, here we have Cell Burst, which is probably the highest priority in this entire spec. Unleashes your high energy cell's stored energy to decimate the target, dealing X to X energy damage. This damage increases based on your current number of energy loads. While high energy cell is active, energy loads build when the high impact bolt is used, and up to 4 energy charges may be stored at once. So this ability is great because the damage scales up based on your high impact bolt uses. So if you use 4 high impact bolts, you're going to get your full stacks of Cell Burst. And also, in tactics, obviously, it's actually built into this thing now, so your recharge and reload, which is your class pool ability, can be used to build stacks. So as you see here, my thing is building stacks. So before you go into any fight on here, build the stacks for me, do that off, and now you can see the damage has increased to 889. It was like 2,000 damage to 2,000 damage, like in that kind of range. Now it's like 8 to 9k, so it's very nice. And with the popper crit gear, you're hitting 18ks, 22ks. There was a thing on the forums, 35ks. It's endless. This is like what people talk about when they talk about Vanguard Tactics Burst. Is this cell burst ability? It's really great. And I'll show you how to use it properly later in the video. So here we have Storm, and Storm is basically just kind of a gap closer. Let's take that off there. And you're storming to the target, deals X kinetic damage, interrupting the target's current action, which is kind of a tank ability because this was taken from the tank's tree, and immobilizing them for 2 seconds, and it can't be used targets in cover, just like on a Guardian Leap or something. This is very nice. We got this in 4.0, and it's great because we don't have to rely on our pool our harpoon, as a gap closer. So now, especially in the beginning of a fight, we can just jump to them, and it has a nice animation, which I'll show you cool later. And then we also just have our stun, breaker, tenacity here, and use it sparingly is all I can really say. Okay, so those are really the abilities. It's a lot to take in, and I'll kind of definitely go over it later, but that's pretty much it. Okay, next I just want to go over the overall spec stuff and my utilities. I'm not going to go over everything like Airvel does, which I admire, but I feel like there's just the way I'm kind of do this guy, there's no point, because I kind of explain that stuff with the abilities. So as I explain this stuff, I'll kind of go into utilities. So first of all, in skillful, I have to take battlefield training. As BT has greatly said, more speed is more DPS, especially in PvE. This is just kind of a general thing, you know, because especially against keyboard turners in PvP, it's nice to have the extra speed boost. And then when you activate your hold the line, it increases by 30%, and it's nice to have. Here we have muscle logs, and increases the range of ion pulse and tactical surge by 2 meters and the radius of explosive surge by 1 meter. And you might think, you know, it's nothing, but when you're stunned in melee and they're 1 meter away, this is very, very nice, especially in PvP. Most of these things are for PvP, and it's just kind of an extra thing to have. I don't know, especially tactical surge too, you get that extra range, so if you're hitting someone outside, it's nice. This is like, I feel like this is new for 4.0. I would never go into a match without this. It's Neural, which is your taunt, slows the target by 50% for 6 seconds. This is great, because I usually taunt when I first go in, especially if they're running away. I can taunt storm, or taunt while I'm storming, and it slows them, especially like classes like Sorks, if they're not smart enough to take egress. It's very, very nice to have. Here, another really great one. It reduces the duration, increases the duration, excuse me, of hold the line by 4 seconds. Another great, because it just kind of 14 seconds basically of immunity. Another great one that couples with another ability down there. Here, this is usually a tank ability. Sonic Round protects all friendly targets in its area of impact, which is your AoE taunt, excluding you, granting Sonic Rebounders, which reflects the next direct single to target attack back at the attacker. So now, this is very nice because, first of all, when you're learning the spec, it has an animation, so you can kind of tell where your AoE taunt is hitting. So if you're not sure like who's it's hitting correctly, because the animation is kind of vague, you can use this to kind of hit. That's not really it though. But this is nice, especially as a tank or especially as PvE. It's kind of nice to have because it is kind of like a saber reflects the entire group. This is probably like a must-have for any Vanguard really. Guard Cannon, it damaging a target with your shoulder cannon missiles heals for you 5% of your total health. So whatever you have is your total health, it'll heal you, which is kind of nice. It's actually saved me in a few instances, coupled with a couple off heals and a bubble. It's saved me, especially in PvP. This is just kind of a nice one to have. It's extra auxiliary defensive, coupled with your burst. And then here, this is one I've been talking about a lot. Charge the line. It hold the line increases movement speed by an additional 45% while active. So by default, hold the line increases movement speed by 30. Plus the 45, that brings us to 75. Plus the 15 from up here, that brings us to 90%. And if I did my math wrong, blame me. But I'm saying 90% movement and speed with just this one ability, and you can fly across maps. You can go in there. It's just definitely a must-have. You know, even for PvE too, charging to bosses if you get pushed back. Let's say you know, in Eternity Vault, the first boss, when you get pushed back, that's a nice thing to have because you don't have like a phase walk to go in. Stuff like that. It's really, really nice to have. So yeah, there are a few things I like to sub out sometimes. You know, the accelerated reel is kind of nice if you really find yourself pulling in PvP a lot. Blitz I haven't used yet, but it's supposed to be nice because it increases your movement speed. But I would rather honestly have Charge the Line because that lasts a lot longer. Just things to consider though. But that's pretty much it for my utilities. Alright, so now in terms of gear, this is kind of a big thing. First of all, don't take my gear as praise because I am not fully geared yet just because of the new crafting changes. And I don't even have fully ranked geared. But in terms of stats, I'm going to tell you what I'm pretty much going to do with this character. First of all, in terms of set bonus, like if you're debating doing like two set bonuses or something with some like crafty thing, don't do it because the 6-piece set bonus is almost a must because it makes your Cell Burst, which is that huge ability I was talking about, an auto crit once every 1 minute, or once every minute, sorry. And that's just kind of like a must, you know. It's really great. I have a few pieces augmented, and I'm on that augmenting. So if you can look at my inventory here, I have one critical augment left, which I crafted on my Sage. So I'm going to augment one more piece, and then the rest is power. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's 4, so 5 here. So I'll have 6 augmented, the rest power. Augmented critical, of course. So I'm probably going to do a mix of equal distance, so crit and power, when I do my min-maxing, just because I want to keep that. I probably want to have my power greater than my crit, if that's possible, which I actually do have right now. But really the best thing is, just to have, since power is really great for burst because you're going to be critting higher and higher, I really am investing a lot of stats into cell burst because that needs to hit up for very hard. And there's this combo I do, which I can show you later, of course, which makes it very, 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 very hard hitting. Also just I have the regular stuff here. This is the regular DPS relics, your exemplar relics here. I still have a couple Syncosia relics. Just basic stuff. But really crit and power are the stats you want to play with. If you feel like you want to go 1 for 1, since Surge has been rolled in and stuff, just kind of something to think about. Alacrity is useless in this spec just because you have nothing ticking except for like your 1 dot. It might make your global cooldown less, which is kind of nice if you're really going for maximum burst. But if your global cooldown is less and you're not doing that much damage, kind of useless. Like I have, let me see. I have like no alacrity right now, literally. So just kind of something to think about. Alright, so now we're on to preparation for the fight, which I'll talk to, and main rotations and abilities. So before you go into any fight, a boss, you're waiting in a spawn zone for PvP. First of all, unlike me, make sure your buffs are up. And second of all, you have a lot of stuff to do as a Tactics Vanguard. First of all, hit your energy regen ability. Start loading up your energy loads here. So you can get, when you go in, you can use that cell burst. And second of all, I won't do it yet because I'm going to talk a little bit, but you're going to want to load up your shoulder cannon. Just because you want to give it some time and you can go in and again, use your shoulder cannon. Then second of all, as you're running up to someone, say this guy here is my target. Maybe as you're running up, hit an explosive surge to get your high impact bolt off. Alright, so, and I'll just get rid of that there so I can reset my soft cooldown. Okay, so when I do tactics, this is kind of something I've gotten off Dolphy a long, long time ago, like 3.0, the beginning of 3.0, and I've improvised it for myself. So what I like to do is I like to storm and taunt, no matter what instance I'm in. Probably not in a boss fight, obviously. So storm and taunt, and then I'm going to hit assault plastique, and I'm going to hit gut, shoulder cannon, and high impact bolt. That's the first segment, so I'll show that here. So I'm going to storm and taunt, assault plastique, gut, maybe 1 shoulder cannon, and then a high impact bolt. So we got our 10k here. We got a lot of nice crits. So that's just kind of like a basics thing. So I'm going to go in there, and you notice I use my high impact bolt without the proc. That's just because I like to go in there. That way I can use that without the proc, hit another ability, and then proc it. So I'll get 2 high impact bolts, right next to each other. So it's just nice to have because that way you don't have to worry about the soft cooldown in the first part of the fight. So, like I said, storm, assault plastique. Don't do a sticky grenade in the first opening thing because it's a waste of global cooldown in the first part because you want to have your maximum burst up. So I'm going to do assault plastique, got high impact bolt just like I did. Then I'm going to go stock strike, then high impact bolt. And I kind of improvise here this part. I maybe do a couple tactical surges, maybe a couple hammering shots. Probably not the hammering shots. I usually do 2 tactical surges. I usually make one of them free because that's 30 energy cells. And then I fire off the next proc on the high impact bolt. And then I hit battle focus and then cell burst. For this demonstration, because there's something I want to show you with battle focus, I'm not going to be hitting that just because I'm doing these narrations right next to each other. So I can show you this rotation in slow-mo. So I'm going to storm and taunt, assault plastique, gut with a shoulder cannon, high impact bolt, stock strike, Then I'm going to do another high impact bolt. And my thing is here, and I'm going to go there, and I should have done 2 really. And then I'll hit my thing, and you can see that's a 15k. Big hit, and I didn't even pop my battle focus. You can kind of hear that dot going in the background. It's not hitting for very much. I can't really show you my debuff just because this thing is in the way. And there's nothing really to show you. I can just explain it. If I do a sticky grenade, it'll reset my gut cooldown. But that's nothing you really have to worry about just because your gut cooldown lasts 18 seconds. But it's nothing really you have to worry about because you're either going to be switching a target, they'll be dead, or they'll have run away, you know, honestly, with PvP. But if you're in a 1v1, just kind of keep that in mind. You have to say, I would definitely recommend doing the highlighted buffs in preferences, just to say, okay, because you really don't want to be applying your dot every rotation, and that's what I do. That's a mistake of mine, and I lose energy because it's 15 energy cells that goes to waste, and you're just kind of refreshing the dot. Okay, so now I will load this back up, and in terms of maximum burst DPS, this is something I found. Instead of doing a stock strike after the first high impact bolt, and then another high impact bolt, and then going into my tactical surge, I do storm and taunt, assault plastique with a gut. I usually do a shoulder cannon, maybe a high impact bolt if I have time, and then I listen for the. So I'll show you here. So if you listen here, listen to the ability. You can kind of hear it queuing up. And as you play Vanguard, especially Tactics, you'll hear that. You'll get used to when you know when Assault Plastique is going to blow up. And you'll be able to coordinate that with other abilities. So, since it doesn't say, it just says it detonates after several seconds, you have to be able to listen for it. And that's pretty important, especially in Ranked, because you want to be able to maximize your burst. So there's a little thing I'll do, which I do, is I just Storm and Taunt, Assault Plastique, a Gut, this, and then I hit Battle Focus and Cell Burst, and that is crazy damage. That's like my old, kill someone in like 4 global cooldowns. It's really nice, because you're hitting 10k from this, like 20k from this with your Battle Focus. Like I said, you want to pop those together, so I'll show you that here. So this. And you can see I used a high impact bolt there, which kind of threw it off. But you really don't need to, and it'll line up very nicely. Just something else. And really, you want to improvise here. You want to be able to say, okay, now I know this baseline rotation. So how can I improvise on that rotation? Which is pretty key because you don't want to be. If this rotation really only works as an opener. And as you play Tactics more, obviously it is with any spec, you're going to learn to say, okay, this is do this and this and that and this times, and it happens very quickly. So I'm not really going to go into too many details about the whole lineup, and I'll go into some detail, of course, but the whole reason that the rotation is very vague, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is because you really want to make your own, that's kind of how I did. I improvised. Dolphy had it a little differently. You can definitely go look on theirs, of course. They have a great guide. But I really wanted to make this video, you guys, to show you the baseline and what you can kind of improvise off. So I'll show you that rotation one more time without the shoulder cannon, of course. So Storm, Taunt, Assault Plastique, Gut, this off the proc, Big R Stock Strike, that's off the proc again. We'll go here, 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 maybe I'll shoot this, and push that again, and I screw up the procs, it's alright. And then I would hit this off, which I didn't have it on. It still hit for 12k with like 3 stacks, so, so yeah, sorry for, missing procs and stuff. I'm trying to conserve my things here. So yeah, Tactics, again, very versatile spec, very bursty. And if you go in there, obviously with no gear, you're not gonna be hitting the stuff I'm hitting. But I've stacked. This is probably one of my mostly geared out characters. So yeah, so that's really the rotation. A couple things to note: use your shoulder cannon sparingly, like you saw there. I kind of used it all in one mobobber. So you really use it sparingly, really. Second thing, don't pop Cell Burst like I did there without 4 stacks. That was for demonstration purposes only. First of all, because it's a waste. If you're at 2 or 4 or whatever, you can just build up another one or a couple 2, and you're done. So it's really just a waste of DPS. Second of all, the way tactics is, don't stand there waiting for your assault plasticity to come off cooldown, or don't stand there waiting for the soft cooldown to come off on high impact bolt. Like I said, when you're in PvP, what I usually do with that double tactical surge thing is, it usually works because I have some delay with the person in front of me, they're running away or whatever. But I usually just improvise. So really, it's just about improvising. Maybe you can throw a sticky grenade in there too, which also procs your high impact bolt. Just stuff to think about. And yeah, obviously, only use your high impact bolt, obviously, with the proc, unless for that's that first time. If you're sure, okay, my soft cooldown is off, and I can use this and use another one in the next cooldown with the proc, of course. Something to think about. Now, my attack adrenals are the level 10. They do shit. Pardon me. I used this a while ago. I don't know why I still have them on my cooldown. Use your Warzone adrenals, especially with the shield. Very nice. 15 seconds. Use your reserve power shell like we talked in the cooldowns with other abilities. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the rotation. Alright, so lastly, I just want to kind of wrap up the conclusion to the Vanguard DPS here. Like I said in the introduction, very bursty spec. And now that you kind of have showed you guys a basic baseline for the spec, I hope you guys can improvise. And my rotation did kind of seem very, especially the ending. Like I said, I usually go what I said to you guys, of course, but just kind of something you want to improvise on. I keep saying that. But I hope you all enjoy the guide. If you want to see more guides like this, with other specs, what specs I play. I got my Sentinel to 65. I have a Shadow at 65, Sage at 65. I can do other specs. So let me know, really, and I can follow it up. I'm really looking for requests here, but until then, I'll just be uploading some more games. I'll show you some gameplay here. With this tune, so you can kind of see how this rotation works in real life. And I'll definitely be doing some more things in TeamSpeak with my guild. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I hope you got something out of it. And if you're an experienced player, you can nitpick this guide all you want. This is really meant for people who just kind of introduction to the tactics DPS, and just kind of a guide on how to play it pretty well. And I know there are definitely a lot of players out there who are more experienced than me, because I've seen it in PvP, especially in the Ebon Hawk. Really great people. But I'm definitely learning, like as any spec. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.